Look, maybe I'm an easy mark or something.
So very, very easy.
But this stuff works for me most of the time. Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be doing another episode in my Married with Children rewatch / watch along and ranking. If you're enjoying these episodes, or if you're just a fan of Married with Children and enjoy consuming content about it, please subscribe and or follow, like the episodes, and comment or email your questions and whatnot. Please also consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page at patreon.com/TheRankPodcast. Now today, we're ranking the 13th episode of the second season of Married with Children, titled You Better Watch Out. Written by Catherine Green and Richard Gurman, and directed by Linda Day, as is commonly the case. For the sitcoms that have already been out a long time, I'm not going to worry about spoilers as much. So, for ones that the entire series is out and you can stream it and watch the whole thing anytime you want to, I'm not really worried if I spoil an episode for you, because really you should be watching it before you listen to this. That's your spoiler alert. There's going to be spoilers in this episode. So let's find out how this episode ranked. We're going to start with the potent notables. So this episode aired Sunday, December 20th, 1987. Married with Children went from a 4 rating to a 3.9, and actually beat its lead-in Werewolf, which had a 3.5, though it was a rerun. It got destroyed by everything else in the time slot once again. However, the time slot changed from 8:30 to 9:30 because 21 Jump Street was on for 2 hours. So since we changed the time slot this week, I've got new competition to discuss. So if you've been following along before you could see my face, now you can see my face as we talk about these other programs that were up against Married with Children. So it lost to Dolly on ABC, which had a 14.1 rating. And if you're wondering, this was a variety show hosted by Dolly Parton. That's pretty neat. It also lost to NBC's airing of Teen Wolf, which got a 14.5 rating. So just imagine a movie that you could have seen in theaters or rented or streamed or whatever is on primetime television and beats other shows. It's just sort of fascinating to look at 40 years ago. It also lost to the second highest rated program of the day, a CBS made-for-TV movie, Christmas Comes to Willow Creek, which had a 19.2 rating. And in case you're wondering, 60 Minutes was the #1 show of the night at 19.9. Now onto the shows.
Cut! Take 3.
The episode's potent notables. The boy who sits on Al's left leg later in the show, Nestor, is played by Michael Faustino, the real-life younger brother of David Faustino, who is Bud. The episode was based on an actual event that occurred on December 16th, 1932 in Mesa, Arizona. So a promoter named John McPhee was hoping to garner Christmas sales by having a stuntman parachute in, make an appearance, and distribute toys. After planning it carefully, McPhee discovered his stuntman was at a bar drunk just a couple of hours before the scheduled jump. He quickly came up with a backup plan where he would put a Santa suit on a mannequin along with a self-deploying chute. Since the landing was in a remote area, McPhee could then put the suit on and finish the gig. The self-deploying chute failed, so many children and parents were traumatized by seeing Santa fall to his death. This enraged many parents. Unaware of the tragedy, McPhee showed up dressed as Santa with a police escort. He tried to explain Santa did not die because of magic. It did not placate the large number of parents, but it did have them buying many more toys to help their kids. McPhee was ruined and eventually moved to Colorado. So that's kind of hilarious.
Is it?
But last but not least, I had promised to talk about David Garrison's interview where he said that the first Christmas episode was his favorite. I don't remember what episode I said this on, it was recent. But here's what I found out about this interview. I didn't read his answer in full. Here's what I read when he was asked what his favorite episode was. Quote, "That's a hard one. The first Christmas episode is certainly up there. And if you look carefully, you can see the whole cast almost lose it on camera when Santa plummets into the Bundy backyard." End quote, right? And here's what the rest of it said. Quote, "But I guess I'd ultimately have to choose the 2-parter about Marcy losing her wedding ring at a male strip club. The show was originally written as a single episode, but the laugh spread from the studio audience was so long that we had to shoot more middle scenes the following week and turn the story into 2 episodes. It actually played better that way." end quote. Wish I had actually read it because that would have been a good quote notable for that episode, and we would have had an answer as to why it was a two-parter. Anyway, there you go. Also, to be fair to myself, I stopped reading it because I didn't want a spoiler, which in retrospect is really goofy. So there you go, a little peek into my mind. All right, those are all the potent notables. Let's go to the episode overview. So here we go, my first foray into the episode overview for these sitcoms by myself. First thing I want to say is that I decided to keep going with these even without Zach because I just couldn't bring myself to stop then when we'd already made such progress on the seasons. Though with Married with Children, it'll be forever before we're done. Still though, it was my favorite show when I was a kid, so rewatching it has been a fun little bit of nostalgia for me, so I don't mind keeping it going. Now going into this episode, I was actually expecting it to be pretty good, and I actually think it's pretty unfortunate that Zach took time away from the show before getting to this one because I think this might have been a winner for him. That's enough preamble though. So let's get into the episode. We start off the episode right away with a parental warning, which I was surprised by, but I could appreciate considering, Santa dies in the episode. It makes me wonder how many of their episodes they did that with. Is this the only one? It seems very Unmarried with Children-like to have done a parental advisory at all, considering how subversive the series was, and, back in the day, or how subversive it was considered anyway back in the day. However, in this case, I get it. You can't kill Santa without a warning, right? Right out of the gate, after the parental warning, we get an ad for the mall that Al's Mall is competing with. It's trying to convince kids to go to the mall by saying that they're going to have 6 Santas, but then they advertise to the big kids by saying they have a stripper named Donna or something like that. That didn't get me, but it's very this show to have done that. The ad we hear lets us know we're in for a Christmas episode. Then Al comes up from the basement with a bunch of Christmas stuff all by himself and sarcastically thanks everyone for all their help, saying that the kids have given him the gift of a hernia. So they really hammer home the idea that the Lakeside Mall is in direct competition with Al's Mall and it's winning. It's crazy to me that a shoe salesman at a mall is making enough money to support a family of 4 on one salary in a house, no less. I mean, was that realistic back then? And if so, hey, thanks for the trickle-down economics. Really worked out.
Thanks to the generous help of the United States government.
Anyway, we find out that not only is it a more popular mall and potentially putting Al's shoe store out of business, but Peggy is shopping there too and keeps talking about how great it is. This is how we find out that Santa is going to be parachuting into the mall at 5 o'clock. What will this portend, I wonder? I think I've already said. And I mean, really, you should already know. Well, I'll tell you. This parachuting drunk Santa's parachute doesn't open, and he lands in the Bundy's backyard and dies. So before this happens, though, we get a lot of the familiar Bundy family dynamic with them sort of bickering at one another. Look, maybe I'm an easy mark or something.
So very, very easy.
But this stuff works for me most of the time. Peggy and the kids being super nice to Al, so he says, "You really want your presents, huh?" And Peggy responds, "No, Al, we really love you." Man, that's good stuff. I get it. I know, and if you've listened to these episodes when it was with Zach, I know Zach doesn't really respond to the whole, I hate my spouse stuff.
Are you trying to tell us something?
What can I say? I enjoy it. As with most of these early episodes of Married with Children, they have to figure out a way to get the Rhodeses, the Bundy's neighbors, over to the Bundy's house. In this case, it was a delivery of their gift basket to the Bundys. So they're supposed to go to the Rhodeses, went to the Bundys. So now they have a reason to be there, right? So naturally they come over to retrieve it. And then they actually exchange gifts with the Bundys. And the gift that they give Al, I actually thought was pretty great. They got Al a donation in his name to the National Organization for Women, which is kind of perfect. And the Bundys got the Rhodeses a fruitcake with a footprint in it, which is really just an old fruitcake that they had sitting around in their basement for years. So this is fun stuff. And again, if this isn't your humor, I don't know why you're watching this show or this episode. My show or that show. Anyway, eventually we get to the crux of the episode. Santa lands in the Bundy's backyard and dies. This traps everyone in the house as well as the police arrive and sort of quarantine everyone. Steve and Marcy get completely traumatized while the Bundys are unperturbed and go on to have their Christmas dinner anyway. We get a lot of fun moments out of this, like Peggy saying to Marcy,
"Come on, Marcy, these things happen."
And Marcy responds, "When has this happened?" Which I'm kind of on Marcy's side a little bit. That's an odd occurrence. Right? Now, the cops are refusing to leave the house because there are a bunch of kids outside the house and they don't want to bring a dead Santa out the door in front of them. So Al dons the Santa outfit and comforts the kids in a very Al way, including when he tells one kid that he's going to leave a horse under his tree because that's what he asked for. But if it's not there in the morning, it's because his mom ran it off and killed it, which is pretty damn dark. A staple of this show is that shit just doesn't work out out for the Bundys. And it looks like it's headed in that direction when an executive from the mall stops by to bribe them. But because Al's already appeased all the neighborhood kids, he doesn't need to and laughs and leaves. But just as we suspect the episode is about to end on a sour note for the Bundys yet again, a Christmas miracle happens. The bag that Santa had falls off the roof with a whole bunch of gift certificates for that fancy new mall, and they all head out to get some gifts. So that's the whole episode. I enjoyed it, but let's go to the rank. We'll see how it did.
A rank.
So the rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Then I add the laugh counter, which is where I tally the amount of times the episode made me laugh. 1 point per laugh out loud that will be added to the cumulative ranking. The first category is story, and I gave story a 4.25. This is a pretty decent story. Al can't buy Christmas gifts because the new mall is taking all of his mall's business, but then the Santa that the new mall hired ends up falling to his death in the Bundy's yard and changing their fortunes, so to speak. I thought it was pretty good. It was a good story. For next category is acting. For acting, I gave a 3.75. Everyone was good. David Faustino is still not great. Christina Applegate wasn't as good in this as she has been. Amanda Bierce was given a tough assignment for this one, and she did fine. David Garrison is becoming pretty enjoyable, actually, and Katie and Ed were great as usual. The guest star detective was good as well. So everybody, all around, pretty good. The next category is dialogue, which I gave a 4. Really funny episode this time. Relied a little too heavily at times on the whole Al and Peggy hate everyone shtick, but pretty darn good. And the next category is episode coherence, which I gave a 4.5. It's pretty coherent. The characters felt true to themselves, and the story was very neatly encapsulated. Also, it was nice the Bundys finally got a win. And then the last category is character relatability, which I gave a 3.25. I don't know how to rank this category this time. I mean, I think Steve and Marcy are probably the most relatable in the episode. The Bundys are starting to become caricatures, not entirely unrelatable, but probably starting to not be confused with real people. So that leads us to the laugh counter. And I had 21. I laughed 21 times in this. Maybe I'm crazy, but I thought it was a really funny episode.
Am I crazy? Yes!
This puts the episode total at a 40.75, which puts it directly into the Holy Grail tier. Now, for those of you who don't know the tiers yet, it goes from best to worst: The Meaning of Life, The Holy Grail, I'd Watch It Again, Mediocre, Rank It and Regret It, and Disaster Piece at the bottom. So thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankwithjohnandzach.com. Remember to subscribe, review, and comment, and please consider supporting us on Patreon at our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast. You could get exclusive perks. I'll leave you with this. Why were the Bundys happy with the death of Santa Claus? Because they were claustrophobic.
Oh, brother.
Remember to subscribe.
Take 3.